What's up guys, I'm the Wicked Sim. Today we're going to be making this iMessage template here in DaVinci Resolve without any keyframes. This allows us to do some crazy stuff like dynamic adjustments on the fly whenever we want, and we're not limited, we're not trapped by the imperialist dictatorship of keyframes, so we can actually experiment and have some fun. First thing you want to do is drag in a fusion composition like this here. Once we have our fusion composition, we're going to open it up in Fusion, no fucking shit, and here is where the magic starts. When you open up a new composition in Fusion, first thing I like to do is I like to make a little canvas with a background. You add in a background. This is our background node. You plug it into the media out and you turn the alpha down to 0. This is our canvas, 1920 by 1080. This is the workspace that we've been given. Now, I'm massively oversimplifying most of these steps. So if you do have extra questions, you just ask them in the comment section down below. I will answer when I have the time. Okay, we're going to build the container for our iMessage first. We'll do that with another background, this background right here. We'll add in our background with the merge node like that. Now we've merged in our background, but we need to get it to the right shape. To do that, we'll come up here, collect the rectangle, drag it in, plug it in, and now we have our rectangle shape. We just have to fit it to what we want. Okay, we want something like this, nice rounded corners. Increase the height a little bit. Now we have the right shape, but it's the wrong color. To change our color, we're going to go over here to our background. I'm going to be using a gradient because it looks better. So I'll just go over here, change the type from solid color to gradient. Now we just need to grab these handles here in our inspector and we move it somewhere like this. You can come in here and like fine tune things a little bit. So I'll just fine tune it so that it's exactly like this. And then we can mess around with the colors a little bit. I'll raise the gray, maybe something like this. Then I'll reduce the brightness on the white parts just a little bit so that the gradient is a bit more matchy. There's some other like adjustments that we can make. We can also add some inner shadow. Let's do that right now. So to add inner shadow, I always follow the same process. First thing we're going to do is add a shadow node. We'll plug in our background node that we want the inner shadow to apply on. We'll plug it into the yellow output. If we check on our second viewer, we get something like this. This is just the image of the background that we plugged in. If I move this down, we get a shadow. We can change the softness and everything, but we're not going to be doing that. We'll actually only need the shadow because we already have the image. We plugged in the image already. We don't need the image twice. So I'm going to change this to shadow only. Okay, so now we have only the shadow, but because it is just the shape of the image, if I plug this in right away like this, it just takes over our entire image. So we have to do some modding. We'll grab a background node, plug this in, yeah, and then we'll go to our settings of our background node, change it to apply mask inverted. This will basically flip our inner shadow like this. So when we plug it on top, you can see that it's filling outside of our rectangle from before. Normally this would not be useful, but if we take our previous background output, plug this into here, and then we move our shadow around, now we have an inner shadow. Very, very simple, very, very effective. I'm just going to make something like this. We can come in here, add a transform. Okay, maybe reduce the size a little bit so that we have something like this. And I'm just going to increase the softness on the shadow so that we have rounded corners. You can do something like this if you want, get those nice rounded corners, but I don't really like how that looks. So I'll go back to my background and change this to white so that it looks like some bounce light is hitting the edges. And then I'll increase the shadow a bit more and turn down the opacity. So I'll do that, and then I'll come to our merge. You can actually change the blend modes and stuff. It doesn't really matter because it's white right now, but if you want to experiment, you can experiment with different blend modes and colors. But I'll turn down the blend just a little bit so that it's really subtle. Gives it that premium shading effect, you know, just makes it look a bit cooler, and yeah, or something like that. And we're good. That looks a little bit better. It's not so plain as it was before. Next thing we'll add is the text. Okay, so I'll move that to the left, and then I'll add in a text node. So now we have our very, very simple iMessage. To make our lives a little bit easier, we're just going to take this entire message that we've created and put it into a group. Ctrl G, and now we have the group. If we click on this and press F2, we can rename it. So we'll call this message bubble or something. But if we add a transform, you can see that we have two bubbles and our animation is just around the corner. So we're going to create the animation first on this template and we're going to duplicate the animation. You can normally do this with keyframes. I do subscribe to using keyframes most of the time because when you're doing motion graphics, it's very, very simple animations that compound into complex visuals. Stay with me. You have simple motions like moving to the left, moving to the right. It all compounds into this crazy visual that you're seeing on screen. In our case, we just want the text bubble to go up and we want it to fade in. We're going to do this with a transform node, not a transform XF, just a normal transform node, and we're going to be using anim curves. We just go over here, right? We click on our position Y because that's the value we want to animate. We right click on it, we go modify with, and then we click anim curves. If we go over here to the inspector, we can change some settings around. I'm not going to dive too deep into this. There are tons of tutorials on anim curves like online. I'll link some in the description down below that you can watch. First thing we're going to change is the source. We don't want this on transition, we want this on duration so that it goes from beginning to end. Next thing we'll change is we'll be using a custom curve to get some nice easing effects and like use some nice graphs. And then as for the scale and offset, I'm going to be starting out, our offset is our like starting position, okay, our starting value for the position Y. I want this to be just a little bit down, okay, so the animation starts a little bit down and then moves up, right, back into center. So we'll move this down 0.03, should be good. Yeah, that looks, no, I think I'll move that down a bit more, maybe minus 0.06. Yeah, that's fine with me. And to get it to go back up to the center, we just need to set our scale to be the negative value of our offset. So that's 0.06, like that. You can see that it slowly comes back up to the center. Now we need to speed this up because the animation is going to be really, really fast. So we'll go over here to our time scale, which is essentially our speed, and then we'll change that to 1.47, I think. Or, you know what, let's just make this 1.15, and then we'll do a fast curve. We don't want that basic linear curve. That's a super high easing range. You just have to tweak the graphs and you have to play with the graphs. 90% of any motion graphic that I'm doing, any motion design, is just me tweaking graphs to get something that looks like shit to not look like shit, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's fine. Next, we're going to do the dissolve. You could modify the blend with an anim curve, right? You could do that, but there is no reason to do that because we have a node. We've been blessed with a node in Resolve that lets us dissolve things. Funny enough, it is called the dissolve node. Who would have guessed? We plug in our dissolve node here, and then we plug in a background, right? So what essentially is happening is that the dissolve, using this control, this slider control, lets us pick between two values, fade between two values. To make things more consistent, because this doesn't really make sense, I'm going to flip the dissolve node. I'll click on it and I'll press Ctrl T. So this flips the dissolve node so that when we're on 0, it's transparent, and when we're on 1, the text bubble appears. So we'll just go over here and we'll modify this with an anim curve. We'll go modify with anim curve, and we won't change anything here because we don't have to. We've already created the animation essentially. We'll go here, copy the anim curve, and we'll go here and paste settings. So this pastes the anim curve that we had before, but the scale and offset are wrong. It's minus 0.1 to 0.1. We don't want that. We want it to actually go from 0 to 1. Because we want it to stay within that 0 and 1 range, we'll clip the low and we'll clip the high. We actually should have done this for our position Y, but if you don't do it and you have like a decent result, it doesn't really matter. You can see that here we have a really decent result. It's looking quite smooth and we didn't use any keyframes. It takes a long time because I'm explaining this to you, but like as you get better at using anim curves, you'll be able to create these animations on the fly with very, very little effort, and you'll be able to create them and adjust them as you wish. So yeah, we have this simple animation here and I think it's quite nice. One thing that I'm going to do to make my life easier is I'm going to go into this time offset here, okay, and I'm going to set an expression. This expression allows me to control the time offset with a little bit of math. The value I want to link using that expression is our time offset here in the transform. Time offset is basically the delay for the animation. So what I'm going to do so that I get the exact reference for our time offset is I'm going to hover over it. In the bottom left corner here, you can see the name of the value. It's anim curves 1.time offset. All I have to do is go back to our dissolve, click in here, and then write anim curves 1.time offset. And what this does essentially is it links the time offset between our transform and our fade. So if I move the time offset of the transform, it moves the time offset of the dissolve. So that keeps things very, very consistent. I think most people will see where we're going with this. So to create the multiple effects, like to create the multiple text animations, you just Control C, Control V, then you just plug this in like that, and boom. Now you have, oh, what the hell? And just plug that in. So now you have a new text bubble. And to delay it, oh, okay, I made a mistake here because okay, no, I didn't make a mistake. What the fuck am I saying? Am I good? Holy shit. Anyway, to delay it, we're just going to come in here and we're going to type a new value, 0.25, and we'll come in here and play that. See what that looks like. Yeah, and now we have that multiple iMessage template effects. Obviously, you have to come in here into the message bubble and change your message text. So maybe I'll come in here, please speed, I need this.
And that officially brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can just leave them for me in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, if you need to contact me, all my contact information is in the description as well. To get the project file for the original iMessage that I showed at the beginning of the video, or to get the project file for this tutorial that you're watching right now, it's fully available on my Gumroad. And I'm even packing them in the bundle for a lesser price. If you want to get the bundle for free for the next 1 week, to welcome us into 2026, and apologize for not really posting that much, I have a discount code that gives you the bundle totally for free. So if you use this promo code that you're seeing on screen right now, you can get the bundle with both the project files totally for free for the next 1 week. So make sure you redeem that. So sorry I haven't been posting. Things have been a bit tough, but thankfully, I don't know if anybody noticed, the production on the tutorial has gone way up, bro, and that's all thanks to you guys that subscribed, you guys that bought things from the store. It's such a huge improvement that I watched this tutorial back and I was like, I made this, like, what the fuck? It's insane, man. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you guys so much for liking, for commenting, for purchasing. Like, thank you to everybody that supported me so far. I know that I don't post that often. I'll try to post more. I'll try to post more tutorials. I'm working on a long form MoGraph tutorial where I take you guys step by step on my entire motion graphics process, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. See you in the next tutorial.